Hey everyone, Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, co-author of the Parable Port series, and yes, Christmas is coming very soon. So I thought, all right, I gotta pull out my Christmas books that I'm gonna be reading for the month of December because lately I've been doing this thing. I know it's gonna be shocking, but I have been pulling out piles of possibility for each month. I kind of have been making a stack of books because what I've been finding is lately in the past few months, a couple months ago, I was getting a little overwhelmed by deciding what should I read next. And I spent like almost half an hour one time just looking through all my books trying to decide what should I read next? What should I do next? And so then I decided, well, why don't I make a little stack of books and go from there and just pick from that stack of books for that month. And of course, if something else catches my eye at some point, I can add it to the stack. So I've been making little stacks, little piles of possibility TBRs, and I made one for December with all of the different Christmassy books that I'm thinking about reading. So I kind of wanted to share them with you and tell you about my little pile of possibility for December. I'm super excited about these. I can't wait to get to them. Most of these books are Christmassy themed books, a couple New Year's books for at the end of the month, and I have a couple books that are not Christmas, but they're just in series that I've been reading. So I've kind of been adding at least one of those to every pile every month. So let's dive into my pile of possibilities. So first up is a book that I actually can't wait to read, and I've been like kind of holding off like diving into it because I just want to read it. And that is a Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys super mystery, A Crime for Christmas by Carolyn Keene. Now I can't wait to read this. I just read Double Crossing, the first book in this series, and it was so much fun. It's like Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys teaming up together to solve literally a super mystery. These books are longer than the typical Nancy Drew books. They're actually YA books, and they are more involved. They're like 220-ish pages around there, and they're more involved mysteries. There's multiple layers of things that are happening, multiple mysteries sometimes, and I am super excited because this is book 2 in the series, A Crime for Christmas. Now, I'm excited to read this because I want to know if you have to read them in order. I kind of don't think you do. The first one definitely had some like setup-ish stuff and is really based off of the Case Files books that were coming out in the 80s and 90s, both for Hardy Boys and in the Nancy Drew files that were coming out in the 80s and 90s as well. And so they take a lot of characters and like story beats from those, like Frank's dating Callie Shaw, things like that. So I'm excited to see this one and like kind of see what's happening and what's going on and what the crime for Christmas is. I can't wait. This will probably be the first book I read in December. Next up, I've got another couple Nancy Drew books. Now, these are more the middle grade, young YA Nancy Drew books. And the first one is book 110, The Nutcracker Ballet Mystery. Now, these are the minstrel editions that were coming out in the 80s and 90s of the Nancy Drew books. And I don't know what it is about these, but I love them. It's probably the 80s and 90s vibe of it that I love because it has like the mall. You've got a lot of references to the 80s and 90s. Nancy Drew is often wearing the clothes from that time period. So there's a lot of things like that that are going on in this particular edition of these books. And I really enjoyed the couple that I've read so far. So this one's obviously a Christmas one. I can't wait to get to it. And then another Nancy Drew possibility is book 116, The Case of the Twin Teddy Bears, which this one looks a little more serious than some other Nancy Drews. Now, I will say, in the couple other ones I've read that are from the Minstrel Paperbacks editions, they do have some kind of more intense storylines. Like another one I read, there was like some blackmail going on, which is a typical Nancy Drew mystery. But then there was some real physical danger that was actually pretty scary in it. So I thought, okay, this is not like the old 1950s Nancy Drew. There's a little more going on here. So I can't wait to read this one. Obviously, Christmas time. I don't read the backs of these, so I don't really know what they're about. But this looks like a Christmas cover from the cover. And then next up, a Muppet Babies version of Nancy Drew, the Nancy Drew Notebooks, book number 3, The Secret Santa. Now, this Nancy Drew series is a lot shorter. They're usually under 100 pages. They have very big font. They've even got pictures in a lot of these. So you've got like a bunch of these kinds of pictures that are drawn in there that take up a full page. They're very quick reads, but they're actually pretty fun. I've read 2 of these so far. This is actually book 3 in the series, and I'm excited to read it because the mysteries have been more sophisticated than I expected. I went into this thinking, okay, these are going to be like Clue Junior kind of mysteries, like here we go, like, oh, the dog is missing kind of stuff. But then it actually turned out to be a little more serious of mysteries that are pretty sophisticated. Like a young kid could definitely read this and be totally fine, but I do feel like if you're like an adult reading to your kids kind of thing, these are enjoyable because they're definitely like a little bit of a mystery that's actually a mystery and not obvious to see what's going on, but also not like super obtuse to where it's like, wait, how would you even know that was happening? Like you can piece it together if you're following along, but it can have some red herrings. So I'm excited to read this one, The Secret Santa. And then next up, moving into some YA horror. Last year I read Silent Night, so this year I've got to read Silent Night 2 by R.L. Stine, the Fear Street Super Chiller, which it says on the front, Jingle Bells, Santa Kills. It's so ridiculous, but I can't wait to read this. I loved the first Silent Night book, so I cannot wait to read this one and see what happens because Reva Dalby is definitely a great Fear Street character. She's at all at once. She's so much fun to follow along with, but so despicable. And you're just thinking, oh, you are a terrible person. But I kind of want to know what happens. So it's great. So this one is Silent Night 2. I don't know anything about it because I don't read the backs. All I know is it looks like Reva Dalby's back for another Fear Street Super Chiller. And then moving on to a couple of books that I've just been reading the series of. These aren't necessarily Christmas ones as far as I know. I mean, I could be surprised. You never know. But I have been reading the Nightmare Hall series, and I will be on book number 10, Sorority Sister by Diane Ho in December, because I'm reading book number 9 this month, so I want to read the next one. I love this series. Nightmare Hall is a 90s horror series about these students at Salem University, so it's kind of a different setting. It's students in college, which allows for a lot of interesting plot lines that you don't normally do in a high school or middle school horror setting. So these are all set at Salem University, where sometimes supernatural things happen, sometimes there's just a killer, and there's different things going on. But what I love especially about these is these first ones have these step back art that's so great because, oh, what a nice picture of 2 friends. Or is it? I love this so much. I can't wait to read this, see what happens. I've loved every Nightmare Hall book I've read so far. Some of them are a little better than others, but still it's like a sliding scale of like 1 star here and there. So it's such a fun series. If you've never read these, definitely start with book 1, Nightmare Hall, the first book, and then go from there. But it's so fun. I love these so much. And then another book I've been reading, and this one will be a reread, and I'm interested to reread this. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily excited, but I've been rereading the Forbidden Doors series by Bill Myers, and this is book number 9, The Scream. I'm about to read book number 8 of The Undead for November, but this one is The Scream, book number 9, and I read these all a long time ago when I was in high school, and I have actually really enjoyed rereading all of them. I finished book 7 recently, so I'm on book 8 is the next one I'm going to read this month before November ends. And then I'm going to get to The Scream in December. But these have been a lot of fun to revisit. Some of them have been kind of interesting to remember. Oh, I didn't remember that or that or that. And they've been pretty intense and great reads, and I've really enjoyed them. But I do remember this one, and I remember not really loving it even back in the day. So we'll see what happens. After book 6, these books started to be co-written by another author, James Riordan. And so James Riordan kind of helped out with the writing on books 7 through 10. And then Bob DeMoss helped out on books 11 and 12. So it's not Bill Myers, and I think it kind of does show in the writing that it's not Bill Myers writing it, but that there's this co-author that's writing these. So I remember not really loving this one. We'll see what happens when I get to it. It's not a Christmas book. It is definitely about rock and roll and like the satanic panic, which is a very interesting topic, actually. There's actually a very good podcast, which I would say it's definitely one that is for adults, but it's a deep dive on the satanic panic of the 70s and 80s called The Devil in the Deep Blue Sea from Christianity Today podcast. And that podcast is it's intense, but it's very interesting because it talks all about the origins of the satanic panic and like how that kind of came about, why churches were so connected with it, and goes from there. And so this one, I do remember some of that satanic panic kind of stuff in this book. So we'll see. Forbidden Doors, if you don't know, is a series about these two kids, Becca and Scott, who literally battle demons in their hometown in California. And so they're like battling with demons. It's pretty wild, but it is definitely the 90s version for Christian readers of Fear Street. That's definitely what it was. So I am interested to read it. I don't know if I'm necessarily excited to read it because I'm a little nervous about this one. Next up, I had to sneak into the pile another Murder, She Wrote. In October, I read Trick or Treachery in the Murder, She Wrote series, and I loved it. It was so much fun. These books are all Murder, She Wrote books based on the TV show Murder, She Wrote, with Angela Lansbury starring as Jessica Fletcher, a mystery writer who solves murders all over the place. These are cozy mysteries, and what's great about the book series is these are original stories. So they're not based on episodes. They're completely original stories, so you can go into these and read them and just have a great time with them. And I love on the cover of these first ones, they had a skull kind of hidden in the cover every single time. So the front of the house right there is like this skull. I love it so much. So this is a little Yuletide murder. And hopefully it's not like the infamous Murder, She Wrote Christmas episode where, I'm sorry if you've never seen it, but I will spoil this one little thing. No one dies. That there was no murder in a Murder, She Wrote episode, and it's infamous for that, the Christmas episode. It's still a good mystery, still a fun time, but there's no murder. So I am interested to see, will that tradition follow here, or will we actually have a murder? We'll find out when I read it. And then a lot of you have wanted me to read one of these for quite some time. Some of you are super into this series, and I haven't really understood why yet, but I'm about to read one, and we'll see what I think. What series am I talking about? I'm talking about Francine Pascal's Sweet Valley Twins. Now, to be fair, this is a super chiller Sweet Valley Twins. I've never read any Sweet Valley books at all, period, none. And this is the first book in the Sweet Valley Twins super chiller series, The Christmas Ghost. So I thought, all right, it's Christmas, it's a super chiller, it's a ghost. I love ghost stories. Let's see what happens when I read this book. So we'll see. I have no idea what it's going to be like. I'm intrigued because I know a lot of you have been excited for me to read a Sweet Valley book. So we'll see what we think when we read this one. And then this one's a little bit of an interesting wild card, but I wanted to read another Berenstein Bears book. Now, I will say, I feel like I started rereading these because I had almost all of these as a kid, and I read a ton of them as a kid. I started rereading these, and I think I started rereading like the worst, most problematic ones, because then I've been reading other ones back, like The Haunted Hayride and The Freaky Funhouse and Maniac Mansion, and those have been excellent. So much fun. So I'm excited to read this one. This one is a Christmas time-ish one in Bear Country, where this is actually about the Berenstein Bear Scouts and the Ice Monster by Stan and Jan Berenstein. Now, the Bear Scouts was an alternative series to the Berenstein Bears big chapter books. So these are chapter books. They're pretty big font, and they have a lot of pictures in the book, but they are all about the Cubs as Bear Scouts, and they're like usually solving mysteries and kind of fighting against different villains that are trying to take over Bear Country. So these ones are a tiny bit, I would say a tiny bit more intense than the big chapter books are. And so I'm intrigued to read this one. Now, I don't remember this one from when I was a kid. I don't know if I've read it or not. So I'm super intrigued to read it and see what I think about it. And then I found this book at a Goodwill for like 49 cents. And I thought, all right, I'll pick it up. It's a 90s book. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. I've been saving it for Christmas, and that is Todd Strasser's Help! I'm Trapped in Santa's Body. Now, this is like a Freaky Friday-ish kind of series where the main characters, they switch bodies with all different kinds of people, like the president, the principal, the vampire, the dog, all things. So this one is with a Santa. Now, I don't know if it's going to be like a mall Santa or like the real Santa Claus. So we'll find out when I read it and see what happens in this book. These, from what I hear, are pretty kind of zany. So we'll see what it's like. And then this series returns. The series by Dean Marney that I started in October, and I am reading one for November. And now I'm going to see about reading the Christmas one. The Christmas Tree That Ate My Mother. The tagline says, "It's nearly midnight. Do you know where your Christmas tree is?" I have no idea what's going to happen in this book, but I will say this is like a loose series. They call it the Lizzie and Booker series online. And so it's by Dean Marney, and there are several different ones. There's the jack-o'-lantern that ate my brother, the turkey that ate my father, the Valentine that ate my teacher, the Easter bunny that ate my sister. There's all different kinds of holiday themed ones in this series. And this is, I guess, book one. This is the first book that came out. Now, this is back in the 90s, they did this where they would have these series that were not actually numbered. So there's like no number on the spine to tell you what book number this is. But they would have these like loose series, and they would have different entries in the series. So this one is technically the first book, and the Jack-o'-lantern that ate my brother is book 2. And it does reference this book. So I am curious about the reference, because in the Jack-o'-lantern that ate my brother, I was kind of like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what does this mean? Like, what's going on here? Like, with this one chapter. So I feel like this book will probably explain that for me, and I am curious to see what happens. And then, of course, I gotta get a Goosebumps book in here. And, of course, that has to be Goosebumps Most Wanted Special Edition 2, The 12 Screams of Christmas by R.L. Stine. Now, this is a special edition. It's a longer Goosebumps book. It's like 160-ish pages, so like 40 pages longer than a typical Goosebumps. And I'm curious to read it. I've heard not great things about it, like kind of bad reviews about it, so we'll see what I think about it. But I'll give it a go, see what happens. And then this is a series I haven't read any in yet, but I have a few of them. And one of them is a Christmas one, and that is book number 4 in Scareville by John Ward, A Very Scary Christmas. And I'm not gonna lie, those little elves look so disturbingly creepy to me. So we'll see. This is not your kid's Elf on the Shelf. This is a little, actually, I kind of personally think Elf on the Shelf's a little creepy, not gonna lie, but that's just me. Anyways, that's a side note. But we'll see what happens in this spooky middle grade Christmas book. And then throwing in a picture book just for fun, because it's Christmas, and you know, picture books are great fun, and that is Teddy Ruxpin's Christmas. And this one is a musical celebration. This will probably take like all of 10 minutes to read, but I'm excited to read it. This is from the world of Teddy Ruxpin, which if you don't know about Teddy Ruxpin was like this 80s icon. They actually brought them back more recently, but it was these stuffed, they look like bears, but they're technically Iliops, if you know your Teddy Ruxpin lore. And so they look like bears, but what they would do is they had these like dolls of Teddy Ruxpin, and you put the cassette tape in the back of it and press play, and then Teddy Ruxpin's like mouth would move and the eyes would blink and stuff, and Teddy Ruxpin would read you a story. And so they had these storybooks that went along with all the cassette tapes. Now, I don't own a Teddy Ruxpin. Someday I would love to have one. I would love to have an old one that I can connect with the grubby. That's a whole other thing. But anyways, I love Teddy Ruxpin. They actually had a cartoon series back in the 80s that was really great. It was a great 80s cartoon, and it was a continuing storyline, which I also found really interesting. But they also had a live action pilot before the cartoon. And yes, this is a VHS tape of the Teddy Ruxpin pilot special. It's so great. It has all these like live action animatronics in it. It's so much fun. Just a great adventure-y kind of story. I love this. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube, so look around, you'll find it. But yes, this is my VHS copy of Teddy Ruxpin, and I can't wait to read this Christmas book for Christmas. And then last but not least, a couple New Year's books because, December 31st is New Year's Eve and it does come after Christmas. So after Christmas, I plan on reading these 2 books. But the first one is another Nancy Drew and Hardy Boys super mystery, New Year's Evil by Carolyn Keene. So this one looks really interesting. Like if you look up there, there's like this gothic-y mansion castle thing. I don't know what's going on. I'm excited to read it. I think this is technically book 11 in the series. So after I read A Crime for Christmas, I'll know if I can jump to this for sure or if I need to save it for December 2026. But anyways, we'll see what happens. So I'm excited to read this one. And then last but not least, I got this last year, it came just after New Year's and I was super bummed because I thought, well, it's kind of past now, so I don't want to do it yet. So I'll wait for the end of 2025. And so I can't wait to read another Fear Street super chiller, The New Year's Party. And it says, when midnight strikes, they all die. So we'll see what happens in this book. I've not read this one, so I'm super excited to read this Fear Street Super Chiller, see what happens. I think it could be a lot of fun, a great New Year's read. I plan on reading this on New Year's Eve night. That's my plan. So if that all works out, this could be my very last book I read in 2025. So we'll see what happens. So that is everything I'm planning on reading for December 2025. What are you reading? Anything fun for Christmas that you picked out or for New Year's or anything else? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know. And, things are getting a little Christmassy around here. So I'm excited about that. Oh, yeah, the little sleigh over here. So we'll see what happens in this December month. I'm excited to read a bunch of these books. Until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye.